We begin tonight with Malacañang condemning a UN Human Rights Council resolution that calls for an independent investigation into the Duterte administration's war on drugs. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin says there will be consequences for countries that supported the resolution. Maricel Halili with the story.
The resolution that calls for a thorough review of the human rights situation in the Philippines has been adopted by the UN Human Rights Council with 18 in favor, 14 against, and 15 abstentions.
In the past 3 years, Special Rapporteur mandate holders have issued 33 statements on the Philippines. 33. Most recently, 11 Special Rapporteurs jointly called for an independent investigation into the human rights violations in the Philippines, citing a sharp deterioration in the situation across the country.
Philippine Ambassador to the UN, Ivan Garcia, defended its no vote by reiterating that there was no basis for the proposed investigation because the figures in the supposed killings are merely made up. Garcia was speaking in behalf of Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin.
The Philippines rejects this resolution. It cannot in good conscience abide by it. We will not accept a politically partisan and one-sided resolution so detached from the truth on the ground. It comes straight from the mouth of the Queen in Alice in Wonderland. First the judgment, then the proof.
The Philippines added that it is being bullied and the arrogance of the Western countries will have consequences. Back home, Malacañang immediately condemned the resolution. In a statement, presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said the resolution did not even reach a simple majority in the 47-member UNHRC. He said it only means that majority of the members are not really convinced about supposed extrajudicial killings in the country. Malacañang calls the resolution introduced by Iceland grotesquely one-sided, outrageously narrow, and maliciously partisan. Panelo also claims that the resolution was designed to embarrass the Philippines before the international community. But he reiterates the Duterte presidency is not cowed nor weakened by the resolution and notes that it will remain steadfast in eradicating illegal drugs. Earlier on Thursday, President Duterte said that he wants to look into the council's purpose in lodging the investigation.
Let them state their purpose, and I will review.
This is echoed by Panelo, who said the president will still decide if he will permit such probe. Duterte also said that any investigation launched by other countries could be considered interference. Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police believes there is no need for any probe, as the human rights monitoring mechanism in the country is working. Albayalde even blames Filipinos for what he calls false information being spread about the peace and order situation in the country, and the alleged black propaganda allegedly peddled by the Communist Party of the Philippines.
I have not read anything, pero posible, pwede, no? Posible, pwede. It's because alam naman natin lahat, they'll do everything. Dahil nag-bag down yung peace talk sa kanila, no? And I think hindi naman tayo masisi doon, ang gobyerno hindi naman masisi dahil the government has always been open for peace negotiations.
But the Commission on Human Rights sees the approved resolution as a way for the Philippine government to show that it has nothing to hide and is willing to adhere to the global standards expected of a member of the UN Human Rights Council. For News 5, Maricel Halili, we are One News.
The Commission on Human Rights has commented on the UN resolution to investigate the Philippine drug war. Senators, including supporters and critics of the campaign, are also weighing in. Marian Enriquez has a story.
The Commission on Human Rights asked for transparency from the Duterte administration after the United Nations Human Rights Council voted to investigate the government's bloody war on drugs. The agency has frequently called out the administration for killings done amid the campaign against illegal drugs. It said the UN resolution would prove if the government has nothing to hide. Over at the Senate, lawmakers are polarized on the UN investigation. Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon said the administration is obligated to comply with the member country's decision. But Senator Panfilo Lacson called the probe unnecessary, given that our criminal justice system and funding for the CHR are both sufficient. Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa welcomed the investigation with a few conditions. De La Rosa was PNP chief early on in President Duterte's war on drugs and so was at the center of many discussions on alleged abuses by the police.
Wala ako kinatakutan. They can investigate kung gusto nila. Bahala sila kung gusto nilang malaman. Provided they investigate with an open mind, huwag nilang saraduhin yung utak nila at sana huwag nilang i-lump up lahat yung kaso.
Senate President Tito Soto meanwhile said to just disregard the resolution. He called the UN Council biased, saying the focus should be on Syria if human rights violations are the issue. Soto even referenced a UNHRC document from 2018, which said governments should provide women easy access to abortion. He said Western countries who were in favor of abortion and now the drug war probe have no moral high ground to stand on. Senator Leila de Lima called the UN resolution a step toward holding Duterte administration accountable for mass murder and human rights violations. Senator Risa Hontiveros also welcomed an investigation by the UN Human Rights Council, but she slammed Malacañang for rejecting the resolution while closing ranks with China, which is responsible for tensions in the West Philippine Sea. Former aide to the president and now Senator Bongo opposed the UNHRC resolution, saying the council should stay out of the country's affairs.
Dapat hindi na sila nanghihimasok dito sa ating problemahin na muna nilang problema nila doon. Sa kanilang pagboboto niyan ay hindi po makakatulong sa kampanya ni Pangulong Duterte.
For News 5, Marian Enriquez, we are One News.
President Duterte today took a swipe at Iceland over its resolution to the United Nations that is set to look into the extrajudicial killings in the war on drugs. During the 28th anniversary celebration of the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, the president spoke up about the resolution adopted by the UN Human Rights Council and which is set to investigate the rising number of killings in the war on drugs. President Duterte said the situation in Iceland is different from what we have in the Philippines. Unlike the Philippines, the president said the only problem that Iceland is facing is too much ice. The president added Iceland has no need for police to roam around as much because there is practically no crime there as it is mostly daylight in their region.
Iceland, ano ang problema ng Iceland? Ice lang. Itong mga they don't understand the social, economic, political problems of the Philippines. At saka nakikita nila na bakit dito ihulog.
Still on the UNHRC resolution, what the UN Human Rights Council adopted was a motion that would compel the UN High Commissioner on Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, to come up with a comprehensive report on the human rights situation in the Philippines. The report will include recommendations. Bachelet does not need to come to the Philippines personally. She has rapporteurs or investigators at her disposal. But here's the thing, a UN rapporteur can only investigate in country if he or she is invited by the host nation. If they are not invited, they can still try to do their job through local investigators. They can tap, for example, local human rights groups, NGOs, and civil society organizations, or they can talk directly, online or over the phone, to government officials, lawmakers, justices, prosecutors, or the victims themselves. Will the government invite the rapporteurs in? It has not done so in the past, but a recent statement by the president indicated his willingness to at least give it a thought. Bachelet's report, along with her recommendations, will be submitted to the UN Human Rights Council. Now, what would an unfavorable report mean to the Philippines? The UNHCR does not impose sanctions. It can only propose additional resolutions like the condemnation of a government policy or a request for reforms. How did the 47 member nations of the UNHRC, how are they selected? They're elected based on region with 2 possible consecutive terms. Last year, the United States withdrew from the Council for the second time, citing its supposed bias against Israel. Through the years, the Council has been hounded with controversy. Critics say many countries joined the UNHRC just to prevent probes over their own human rights violations. The group Freedom House says only half of the member states in the Human Rights Council can be called free states, and many have human rights issues of their own. President Duterte's former police chief, now Senator Bato de la Rosa, says he is not afraid of any UN investigation.
No, no, I will have my head cut off if this is state-sponsored. You come here and cut my head off.
Echoing Malacañang's sentiments, De La Rosa said the UNHRC resolution calling for an independent probe on drug war deaths in the Philippines insults Filipinos and disrespects the sovereignty of the Philippines. De La Rosa says human rights groups' claims of more than 20,000 deaths are bloated. The government says the drug-related death toll does not go higher than 6,600.